There you are. Glad you made it. We're going to tackle some tune-ins in After Effects. What are tune-ins? Hold that thought. I am Mr. Birm, and welcome to this week's Behind the Mouse. No, wait! Ooh. Okay, I'm back. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Behind the Pencil. I did not use a pencil or stylus, but rather a small clicky device and a keyboard. I won't use the M word again, or I might have another kerfuffle with the Disney lawyers. Moving on, JuJu Brain Episode 3 will be releasing soon, and our audience needs to know. Marketing. We will build up the release date of this episode with tune-ins, which are little stylish ads posted across our platforms featuring the text 1 month, 2 weeks, Friday, 3 days, tomorrow, and the triumphant now streaming. So let's start with our ingredients. First, we have these animated doodles from the JuJu Brain end credits. They are simple doodle animations that have a looping boil. The clips are transparent, so we can see right through them and place them anywhere. Next, we have a handful of concept and marketing artwork I can use in these tune-ins. Also very important, the show logo, so everyone will know what we're talking about. The timeline to create all 6 of these clips with revisions is 3 days. Since we are starting with a batch of existing assets, the approach will be experimental. First thing we gotta do is pop open After Effects, get our files set up, and start moving in our assets. I typically number and name a batch of folders as I go along to keep everything in relevant bins, so I always know where to find them. Next, I create a new square composition, because Instagram is the primary distribution of this ad campaign. And let's see, how am I going to do this? Yes. I will start by dropping in one of our beautiful backgrounds just to get this thing filled with color immediately. That looks good. Oh, I'll just drop every single animation loop into the comp. Yeah, then I'll be able to just move them around. You up here, you down there, slide you over, do a little bee-boop, floobity-doop, there we go. Still doesn't make sense, but that's okay. I need to get the text working, so let's just go ahead and shut all these layers off real quick. That's better. Now we do a little typey-typey. 1 month. Great, that looks good. But we don't just want this to sit here all static-like, so we'll throw a couple text animators on this type to make it dance a little jig. Text animators in After Effects aren't the most intuitive keyframes to work with, but you get used to it. You just need a starting and ending position, an offset, a shape for that offset, and then you keyframe it. Animating the position was just a little lackluster, so I did a second set of scale keyframes that overlapped the position move to give it a little more life and bounce. Per character, because type has unique characters, just like cartoons. You can also give layers in After Effects layer styles, just like you can in Photoshop. I'm just going to add a stroke to give this text a little pencilish purple pop. Once I have the text the way I like it, I pre-compose it and use a time remapping loop out combo. I'll get more into the specifics of that in a bit. Or I'll get into it now! Time remapping is a function you can get to in After Effects by right-clicking a layer and selecting Time, Enable Time Remapping. Boop. This gives you 2 keyframes representing the start and end of the timecode of your given clip. So now we can remap the time, altering the very fabric of the space-time continuum. And with all of that phenomenal cosmic power, we're just going to use it to just make the clip keep going like it's been doing all along. To do that, we use an expression. In After Effects, an expression is not like an animated expression where we contort the face to make different emotions, but rather an expression of code. Hang in there, it's simple, I promise. So we Option or Alt click the stopwatch on our time remapping, add a keyframe just before the last keyframe, and type loop out. Open parentheses, close parentheses in this little field. And from here, we can now drag the entire layer out to the end of the timeline, and it will keep going and going and going. And that's what we want, except for this last part where I don't want it to keep going because it stops right in the middle when we get to the end. Yeah, so from here I Command or Control D to split the clip, toggle a hold keyframe on my time remapping layer, and this freezes the text animation, holding it still through the end of the clip. And all the while I was talking about this, I was rearranging our looping doodle stickers, extending some of them, using the loop out function to keep that loop going, and lastly, before I forget, I just used the position keyframes of the background painting to make a little gliding camera move. Once I'm happy with that, I go back up to my folders and duplicate this comp. You will notice I use very short naming conventions that end in a number. There's a couple of reasons for this. One is, I make a lot of compositions. Thinking of a new name for each one slows me down. But the second reason is, when I go up to a composition that has a number on the end and hit Command D, it duplicates the composition with everything in it, and automatically names it with the next number in the sequence. Boom! We're in, and I don't have to repeat most of those steps I just showed you at the beginning. Iteration time! First things first, let's change and update the text. 2 weeks. Then we'll drop in the next background. This one's a vertical composition, so we'll do a little tilt up instead of a pan. Now in the last ones, I wanted the doodles to float over the pan because that had a neat effect, but on this one we're going to switch it up. I want the doodles to stay with the artwork. So as I place them, I'm parenting each one to the moving background. You will notice the doodles are changing colors. I am using the fill effect from the effects panel to make that magic happen. Color picking from the artwork or other doodle to keep everything harmonious. We want everything to play well together. Now, with these headphones on JuJu's head, I'm using the pen tool to create a mask, and setting that mask to subtract, to punch a hole in the doodle and make it look like she's actually wearing them. I added a second mask so that they could also go behind Chris's head for the appropriate spatial relationship. And then I watched this about 1,000 times, just filling it in with doodles and making sure it feels balanced all the way through. Then we duplicate the clip again, this time dropping in yet another backdrop, changing the text to Friday, and working it in. First thing I notice about this artwork is we've got a Dutch angle to contend with. So let's play with the text a little bit, and what if we just... There we go, we'll have it float over here and match the angle of the shot we land on at the end of the pan. We'll move in some doodles, and I think I'm going to mix it up again and parent those sparkles to the word Friday so it feels more magical. And I'll put the bumblebee over here to give us something to look at before the pan starts. Now we're getting somewhere. But for this next one, I'm going to make the strategic choice to duplicate the first comp again since it has a simpler build than what we just worked on. Replace the background. How's about we try a slow push in this time? These doodles are a little bright, so I changed their colors using that fill effect again to give them the cooler nighttime vibes. The JuJu Brain logo is also a little bright for this environment as we have it, so I'm going to work on that a bit and get it looking more like it's coming from this awe-inspiring shaft of light. Also need to get our text changed over to 3 days. Good. Next. Now we'll get all the way to tomorrow. But why do the same thing again? Let's have the doodles whip into the screen after the pan this time for a little slingshot momentum. That's how I feel when I get thrown into tomorrow. We'll make this whip pan with some motion blur. That's feeling good. Oh, now here's an idea. Let's have tomorrow push that little rocket roller skate out of the way after it lands. That'll make our motion graphics just feel like they live together a little bit. And now, the moment you have all been waiting for, the piece de resistance, the now streaming tune-in. We'll take this last image of the JuJu Brain family at Christmas time and work in our text and our doodles. And look, here we have Soozy with her fingers in her ears at JuJu's singing. So let's take our wavy music lines doodle and run it right through her head. Conflict. Change the colors a bit and I'll trace around the edge of Soozy here with the pen tool making a mask on my music doodle layer. Subtract. Then I want to do the same thing with the JJB logo and sink it into the middle of the fam using it as a festive light source. For that I'll use a solid and make a mask tracing all the foreground characters. Then we can nestle that logo right back there, just like an ornament on a Christmas tree. Lastly, we'll just add a little Christmas-like glow on our text with the Vegas effect. Only trouble is, it covers a little too much of Soozy's face. And now that we're done with that, we'll export all our clips with the media encoder, submit them for feedback, address the notes, and there we are! All 6 tune-ins, ready to go. Couldn't you just stare at them all day? I know I did. This is Mr. Birm, signing off.
If you like what you just saw, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Pencilish Studios.